Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends, we get in a basement and we give our thoughts, we give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a movie, and that movie is The Flash. My name is Anthony Ragucci, and here, as always, the Snyder Cut is canon. Chris Trio.
Gooch, it indeed is. I think we can conclusively say that on this. I think after this show,
what a concept.
It's really wild. It's good though. I mean, it's one of the best scenes in that Snyder Cut is from The Flash. So
absolutely,
yeah. But here we are to discuss The Flash.
Here we are,
and it's been a long road.
So I was just gonna say it's been a long fucking journey.
We have not flashed down it either. It has been a long one, and we've been taking our good old time. But I want to do a little preamble, Gooch, if you'll allow me. I called it The Long Road to The Flash. If you guys are unaware out there, this movie has been in development in some shape or form since like 2000, but that's like going way far back. And it's like form as we see it. It started back in 2014, I believe, when the original DC slate was announced. James Wan was actually offered either to take this film or Aquaman. He took Aquaman, obviously. After that, we then got Seth Grahame-Smith with a script done by Lord and Miller in 2016. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, obviously, of Spider-Verse. Seth Grahame-Smith only was like an author at this point. He did like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. Great flick. I really enjoyed it. He didn't direct the movie. He wrote the book. Like he wrote the book that it's based off of. But after a while, he kind of backed out because of creative differences. You'll start to see that as a bit of a theme here. And then after that, Rick Fumiyama was hired to take over as the director in June 2016. After a bit of a tumultuous go, he then left in 2017 because it couldn't come together creatively, quote unquote. Directs one from him. And then the script by this point had been like rewritten multiple times, keep going through. And then at that point, the studio's top choices were to take over were Robert Zemeckis of Back to the Future fame, of course, and then Matthew Vaughn, who did all the X-Men not origin movies. He did like First Class,
yeah,
and I can't remember if he did Apocalypse or not, but and the Kingsman movies and all that stuff. So at this point, they had also retitled the film in July of 2017 as Flashpoint. They announced that as at SDCC.
I remember that was a big deal.
Yeah,
because it's like, what? Like, how are we jumping to Flashpoint already?
It's very odd.
It's funny how it ended up making a lot of sense.
For sure. Yeah.
Because this movie is an adaptation of Flashpoint.
For sure. Not a direct, but like, I guess like the broad points for sure are definitely directly taken.
Yeah.
And then, so in January of 2018, the filmmaking duo of John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein entered negotiations to write and direct for the studio while they were waiting for Zemeckis. They were hoping that he would free up because he was the top choice. They were confirmed as directors in March of that year, and then the title then reverted back to The Flash. After this, for some reason, WB allowed Ezra Miller and Grant Morrison, a big comic book writer, if you're unaware, I know you know the name probably, Gooch, to write a script. It took like 2 weeks. They still also denied that script, WB, and then Grant Morrison kind of left the project. After that, Goldstein and Daley then leave the project, and then that gets us to 2019 when Andy Muschietti finally took over, and with the screenplay was rewritten by Christina Hodson of Birds of Prey fame.
I think one of the biggest standouts for me was when Ezra Miller got casted as the Flash, and this is 2014 pre-Batman v Superman.
Yeah. Before his cameo or anything.
We don't even have a trailer yet for that. Man of Steel has obviously been out for a year, and the Flash show just started, and Stephen Amell kind of like publicly coming out and like sort of like kind of slapping WB and being like, "You're casting a movie Flash when you just started the TV show Flash. Like you're gonna throw Grant under the bus." Obviously, the Arrowverse.
I don't think that's throwing Grant under the bus. Like just like casting for a different Flash. Like it's the TV show.
Obviously, the Arrowverse was at its peak at this point.
Yeah.
And Stephen Amell clearly very protective of everything that was going on, and the spin-off show that was coming off of Arrow, and Flash would, have a fucking prime spot in its first season. It's interesting to see, like, 10 years ago, Flash was just starting. Flash just ended, and this movie is now finally out. Yeah. It is kind of strange.
It's wild. It's very weird.
But Trio, let's get into the movie. What did you think of The Flash?
The Flash, man, I enjoyed it. I would actually say I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. Ezra Miller surprised me a lot. I thought they were very good in this, and I thought they did a great job kind of playing off themselves, which is very interesting. I would never have expected that.
Yeah, I would agree.
It definitely falters in a few places. CGI. I don't care what's intentional and what's not.
We gotta got a CGI conversation. We got it. Like
I think that's a bit of a bullshit excuse that he gave that it's intentional. But I digress. Other than that, I thought he looked good as the Flash. The suit looked very good in most instances. I still don't love the cowl.
Yeah, but I came around to it, just like I said.
I did like the bright red with the fucking yellow energy coursing through it. I love the detail that his lightning changes from blue to yellow when he's using the suit, and that it like kind of channels his energy.
Yeah, it's focused, not
great.
Erratic.
Absolutely great stuff. I thought the opening scene was rather interesting. Him saving all the babies. I like it in concept, but I don't know if the execution. No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, I think the parts with the other heroes, spoiler, was definitely reshot a bunch of times. But I feel like the actual action scene itself of what he was doing, no, that I would assume wouldn't have changed. I don't see why it would have needed to. But there was a lot of reshoots. There was a lot of changes from what was rumored to come out. We had a big kind of surprise at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we've had plenty of podcasts talking about what's going on with DC. So if you really want to hear opinions about that, check it out. But obviously, the DCEU is over with this film. The DCU under the Gunn Safran banner has somewhat officially begun with Blue Beetle at the end of the summer, which is crazy that movie's coming out in a few months.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, and this movie got mixed up in that infighting, and I think you're seeing the reflection of that in this film. But before I go into it, anything else?
Yeah, and obviously you can't help but bring up the stuff, unfortunately, with Ezra Miller behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I do sadly.
A lot of weird red carpet, like, holy shit, this is the first time we've seen Ezra Miller publicly or
It was like Homelander in season 3 of The Boys. I saw a bunch of memes. It was very funny of him like on the red carpet, and it's just like he has to kind of sit there and just deal with it. But no, I think all things considered, I get why they didn't recast by this point, considering he's in the movie twice, or they're in the movie twice. Excuse me on the pronoun stuff. I will do my best. It just gets mixed up sometimes. But I really did enjoy the movie. It has some falters. It has some issues that I'm not the biggest fan of. Michael Keaton, come on, he's so good. It was really great to see him back. But Gooch, what about you? What did you think?
I think we're in the same spot, and I think we're kind of gonna maybe have some like differing opinions here and there. But it was good. This movie could have been better in another multiverse where the Snyderverse thrived. This was a different movie, and I think it could have been better. And I think. The reason the movie is bad is because all of the behind the scenes. The reason the movie is just good is because of all the behind the scenes things that have just happened over the years that really have nothing to do with the making of the movie, but obviously affected everything about this. And given the fun facts you were talking about, even before the whole kerfuffle, with James Gunn taking over, and even the Snyder stuff being relevant, but like kind of mostly irrelevant to the director's switch, the writer's switch, like all that jazz. This movie kind of like is probably just like a watered down version of like a really good drink,
Yeah, and I feel like unfortunately it's had a lot of hands on the script for sure. Christina Hodson didn't write this alone, even if her name is on that by itself. Like it's been rewritten, it's been kind of reworked. I think that there were certain points that they probably stuck with throughout the rewrites, and then other things they kind of jimmied around and changed up. But I'm sorry, Gooch, I didn't mean to
No, it's okay. Yeah, I really loved the suit. I loved the evolution of the Flash's understanding of his powers and how he uses them. He's pretty advanced mastery of, like, you know, we see him phase, we see him do the cyclone.
He understands the concept of the Speed Force.
He's doing a lot of things that he was not doing in the Snyder Cut at all. Even though, you know, like, he goes back in time, it seems like something he knows how to do, but like kind of X'd off, and then he does it, and then it seems like not like a regular thing he does, but he definitely seems to understand his powers and what he's doing.
Absolutely,
it's not like he does it by accident.
No,
I think he like kind of does and kind of doesn't, but once he's doing it, he knows exactly what he's doing.
He is much more mature in this movie and much more handleable, the older Barry, and I think they actually did a very smart move with bringing in a younger, more annoying Barry for older Barry to get annoyed with. And like kind of realize how like annoying and dumb he is, and that worked very well.
And again, Ezra Miller's back and forth with themselves was like masterful.
It was really good. There was some very really questionable good. CGI with their faces, but like you could tell when one was Ezra and one was CGI replaced a lot of the time. But that's tough to do. I mean, you're replacing.
Really, I didn't notice that.
I could definitely tell. But
I wanted to see if you noticed this. Do you notice how all? Okay, so like think about all the supporting characters we have. Yeah. They all like barely say anything. Ezra Miller's the really mostly.
It's probably him then Keaton.
Iris. No, I would say
it's
Iris
Keaton for sure. Iris has like 3 lines in the whole movie.
I would say Keaton. Okay, actually,
Keaton has a lot. He has a good amount.
Chunkier part.
Yeah,
I think Iris is probably like 3rd or 4th.
I disagree.
Not a lot of people talk to him for all that long.
No, it's true. I mean, you get stuff with his dad,
which is just weird.
I think she's on the same. Maybe I think she's about equal with his mom and his dad, and how much conversation we get with them.
I didn't really like the Batfleck parts. Obviously, like I just wanted better. I hate how they both get boners around Wonder Woman. I'm like, what are we doing? This is so justice.
No, they didn't get. Batman didn't. He just started going off because he had. I like that scene. I thought
they're
it was
both
funny.
Like they're both.
They have the fucking lasso tree. I don't know. I thought
it's
that
not
worked.
Funny. It's not funny.
It works for me.
I don't think it's funny.
All right, that's fine.
It's just,
but
it's just
I do think it works.
It's
very
just
well.
like, oh, she's hot.
That is
woman. Like
that's what,
guys, don't you know each other at this point? No. They don't. They know each other at this point. They shouldn't be having these weird interactions.
I disagree. I thought that was funny. He has a lasso of truth around his hand. He's saying whatever's coming to his head. And you know what? I don't know. I thought it worked for what Barry's character is, and I thought it worked for what Batman was saying. Batman wasn't saying anything about her being hot. He was saying stuff about his like inner monologue and how he uses the Batman identity.
But they just both seem like.
But they were under the control of the lasso.
What's like not awestruck by the girl, you know?
Well, they're all struck by what they like Wonder Woman. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That worked perfectly fine
again,
for me.
it's like it reeks of like Josh Whedon.
I loved seeing them all interact, League. And like the idea of Barry having like
really you like that like for the 5 seconds it was. You couldn't have taken anything better. Like you
no, absolutely, because that's what would happen, and it's not the Wonder Woman movie, it's not the Batman movie, it's the Flash, and they would show up to help him out when they want to. It's a very Justice League cartoon.
I'm fine with how it happened. It's the dialogue that I have an issue with.
That's fine. It worked for me.
I'm fine with Wonder Woman showing up and be like, hey, you know, Alfred, like, you know, it makes sense that she actually was there.
And even Barry's whole dialogue about him.
One thing that never happens to the Avengers, mind you.
That's what but that's what I mean. I thought it actually worked. Like I thought it was a cool little different thing.
It makes sense why she's there.
Maybe I can give you on the dialogue. Maybe they could change it up. But I think that overall idea of that scene works very well. And I loved the idea of Barry kind of talking it through with Alfred. He's like, you know what? I get that I'm basically the cleanup person or the janitor for the Justice League, but it would be nice if I wasn't always cleaning up Batman's. Like, he had a really good kind of back and forth, at least with Alfred and stuff like that. And I really like that moment of him displaying his powers and stuff, even if the CGI wasn't up to as the point where I'd like to be. So let's talk about the CGI really quick, Gooch. Because there was Mr. Andy Muschietti came out, and he said a lot of the CGI is intentional. It is intentionally
it's the part in the
and it's kind of ropey from the idea.
About.
I can kind of accept that when he's time traveling. Yeah. But in the actual greater CGI,
I definitely think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and that's fine. Else. I can accept it on that, but I cannot accept that his suit looks really bad in that first scene, especially because the very hard material they go for, and they really have to CGI replace it a lot. And you're really only seeing his face, which is the true physical part of it. So I would have liked to see more physically their costumes and things like that in some degree. Mm-hmm. Sasha looked great though as Supergirl. That suit looks awesome. She
has the grimiest head of hair I've ever seen in my life.
Jesus.
image I see of her, her hair is like very greasy.
She's very punk. Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm like, is this intentional?
I think it is. I think it's a look.
I'm like, every time I see her, not just in the movie, like as a normal person, I'm like, your hair just looks like it's naturally grease balled up. Like, it's just interesting because
I think it's definitely a look. I know she has a very grungy kind of punk look, in my opinion. Yeah, like she wears a lot like black and like chains and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was but going back to the CGI, yeah, it's like okay, Andy, I hear you, but your execution on that idea not good.
It didn't work as well. Yeah.
And I understand why people were dumping on the CGI based on that.
Sure.
It is aesthetically. Like, okay, you're going for this vibe and like this aesthetic for
you need
these
to stylize
scenes.
It more.
You needed to
just
work
looked like poor CGI. Like that's all it did.
Exactly.
It didn't look like a style choice. It looked like not finished CGI.
Right, because when we were looking at this, and I'm like, when it first came up, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is where the bad CGI stuff is coming from. But then when we got to the Chronosphere stuff again, I'm like, no, this is a choice.
Some of it for sure, and I think some of it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And then we saw the comment from him, and I'm like, right, there you go.
Yeah, I would have maybe chosen a different style, personally, because I think
I agree.
I think it does look just like unfinished CG, and I
Michael Shannon's head looks like it was like put on
paste on his face, which again we knew that was
and that is really sad to hear. And we were talking about this yesterday, like before the movie, and it's just like what happened to movies where like we are just phoning in actors to like have their head put on bodies.
Well, this was
then
COVID.
And then Elizabeth Olsen is like, oh, she has a scene with John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness, and then she's like actually never shot the scene with him, and it's kind of like, oh my God,
that's been going on forever, Gooch. Though, like you don't realize, like that's how they do it.
But like besides Marvel movies, what other directors and genres are actually doing that? That's
what I
want
specifically, but like a lot of movies for sure, and a lot of TV show. I think it's more normal in, but like no, definitely like if someone's over in a different country, I think what made it definitely even more prevalent was the pandemic in the last 3 years. I think Shannon would have been there
a while ago.
That was filmed it started pre-production 2020, and then started filming in mid 2021 or 2020, I should say. So yeah, I mean that was peak COVID. I get that they kind of had to deal with some stuff in that respect, so I can understand it, but yeah, definitely lacking hardcore in some areas CGI wise. Let's talk about the return of one Mr. Michael Keaton.
Okay.
I really enjoyed his introduction. I get why they gave him, like when he's hiding in the closet and he comes out and just starts beating the shit out of depowered Barry, and then younger Barry is just kind of flashing around him. It was very well done, and I get why they gave him the long hair and stuff because they were able to hide his face.
You know what's funny? I'm
like
just really indifferent about Michael Keaton Batman. I just don't care.
Sure, it doesn't do anything for you.
I disliked it. What I did like was his multiverse explanation. Which how many times have we had the multiverse explained to us?
Especially in the past couple years.
You know that line that the Hulk does in Endgame that he's like, like you can't now go in the past.
Yeah.
That line, I've heard that so many times watching Screen Crush videos. It never makes sense. What?
The like his explanation?
I just don't get it. But like when Michael Keaton explained it with the spaghetti, I'm like, yeah,
no, that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm like, they explained this well. I'm like,
we're gonna have to do it somehow, and you don't want to do like like I don't know. There's obviously like time traveler when he pushes the pencil through the paper or something like that. But yeah, I thought that was very well done, and I liked that he grasped, like he's so smart, like he understands it, he grasped it. He's like, so what you're saying is, and then he lays out the whole thing for him, and I thought Keaton was awesome. You could tell he kind of felt right at home. This isn't the exact 89 universe, obviously, to me, or like it seems like a version of 89's universe.
Sure, I think that's a good, that's valid.
Obviously, Alfred's passed away. He's living in his kind of old, dilapidated mansion. Gotham is actually no longer a crime-ridden city in this reality.
Which I wish they kind of went into more, because once he said that, I'm like, what'd you do?
I mean, I don't know. They fixed it. Like, I think that's that's such
a thing that like Batman never gets to. Obviously in a real world that would never happen. But
well, maybe Gucci if he used some of his actual money.
Can you take the remote off the table?
Oh yeah, sure.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, I thought he was phenomenal. I really liked his suit. I loved we saw him in the trailer, but all of his like different specialized suit. God, I love a nice.
Yeah, the action scenes were good. I didn't mind it. What did you think of Ben's motorcycle chase? I actually really enjoyed it.
It was cool. I mean, it kept cutting back and away a little bit too much. Again, he was in it for like a split second.
Right at the beginning. And I like his scene with with Barry as they're, like talking.
He's debating
about,
whether
hey,
to go
I
back.
just went back in time. What happened? And I do think him and Keaton were talking about like their tragedies defining them, which I'm going to segue into talking about, the death of Nora Allen. But, like, I like how he's like, what if I don't want my tragedy to define me? And I'm like, this is interesting.
Yeah, and he's like, you saved your parents.
Because I would almost say the Flash, Nora Allen dying is like more integral to the Flash than like the Waynes dying for Batman, because it's something that like keeps coming back for Barry Allen as the Flash.
I do think that's
like
a fairly new thing though with Flashpoint, like when that's what really introduced that.
Yeah. But like Batman, like he's always thinking about good old mom and pop, but like he doesn't like bring it to the surface all that often, and it's not like he's like actively trying to like.
Well, because he knows
anything about it.
Well, but I think that's the difference between Batman and the Flash.
He's like the
Flash can literally do it. Like
right.
he has the
Batman
power to go
is
back
like
and
the
do
living legacy of like
exactly. All he can do is live up to the thing he's trying to accomplish and his mission. Whereas Barry could actually, like Keaton says in this Keaton's Batman, he's like, I always wanted to save my parents. I put this costume on to save my parents, but you actually did it. Like let's do it. Let's try and save the world. And yeah, it's very interesting. I like how they talk about fulcrums and like events that have to happen and like constants and things like that.
And
like,
that Nora Allen dying has to happen.
Yeah.
It's the Flashpoint paradox. That's the point. It's an event in time that must take place, or the universe will
destroy itself. And that is what happens in, like you're saying, in the actual comic book and stuff like that. If you haven't read the comic or watched that animated film,
do both.
I would highly recommend both of them. They're very good. But yeah, I think this
and you'll see the similarities between
I do think the single strongest point in this film though for me, it has to be that emotional beat with Barry and his mom.
Yeah,
like it does work very well.
They nailed it, and
I was very sad by the end, like that kind of touching moment they have. That spoiler, just warning for everyone at this point, but I feel like there was another scene from another movie that was kind of not imitating. I can't remember the word, but like taking inspiration from, like where he's kind of like he meets his mom at a time and she kind of knows it's him, but she doesn't. I feel like that
The Flash.
Is that what happens in this? Oh, that's right.
More than a few times.
Well, okay.
Yeah, a lot.
That must be what I'm remembering
I think the movie
from.
pulls from the show actually a lot, especially with the Dark Flash's design. I think they looked at Savitar, and they kind of were like, we like his like suit kind of spiky aesthetic here. And they kind of, the Dark Flash is our villain.
The Black Flash,
like we kind of predicted that, like it was going to be like there was going to be another speedster, right? Like, and we were like, how does the Reverse Flash plan to do into it? Unfortunately, he doesn't. But it's kind of like this amalgam of Reverse Flash and Black Flash.
Sure.
And like the Dark Flash has these very Reverse Flash-esque lines where he's talking about him creating him and him being the reason he exists and being his hero. Like, very Zoom,
it is very
Eobard,
for sure.
like him praising him, but like, I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah, I forget Savitar in the show is Barry too.
Yes,
right? I
exactly.
totally forgot about that. That's it. Yeah, that's right.
And he's scarred up. Yeah. Same side of his face.
Why does he have a scar? That should heal. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
there's
true.
No reason he should have a scar.
Oh no, it's cut with a Kryptonian metal, right?
Oh right, all right, that's fine. I'll tell you.
You got it.
One thing.
Tied up.
One thing that I appreciate that they committed to, even though it's honestly silly as fuck, is his ring with his suit in it.
I don't think it's silly at all.
I think it does.
It's a Flash.
It's a Flash trope that doesn't.
Trope, yeah.
I think in real life you kind of have to accept that a little bit in the way of like
it is goofy
because he has a full but not even necessarily that, but he's walking around with a full Flash symbol ring that's like not small, it's large.
In that,
like you can see it
in the show. It's very small.
Yeah, it's much smaller,
and it's like the same thing. But like once they do the ring in the show, it's like I'm like this is great.
No, listen. I think it works, and I think I appreciate that they committed to it and that they were like, no, it's kind of this big silly Flash ring that his suit comes out.
So I want to get back to Nora Allen, but there's a prequel comic that explains how he gets it. So obviously Bruce Wayne helps him develop it, but it's not all in him. And I kind of like that. Bruce Wayne, I mean, since BVS, since BVS, Bruce and Barry kind of have this thing going on.
Yeah,
this mentee
type deal.
Like,
yeah,
not even like mentor-ish that much in like a
Friends
technological
kind of
way,
almost
but
in a way,
like a. we're superheroes and we talk, kind of thing, right?
Who else are we going to talk to? Yeah,
right.
No, there's some good moments between them, even for the short amount that we get. It works.
It is funny. They Ben and Ezra do have a chemistry
for sure.
Like, I think.
No, absolutely. They feel like they've been hanging around each other for a while.
But yeah, let's get like. It's a shame that I think they totally dropped the ball with like who murdered Nora Allen.
So I would actually disagree. I think
I do like how the knife is in her chest, by the way, when we see her. Like, it's very gory.
I think it works for how they set up the rules within this universe where he can't, like, directly affect... Like, he can't go in and stop the guy from stabbing her.
I understand
he has
that,
to go in...
But
I know, they're taking away the reverse flash thing. I understand.
The reverse flash of it, exactly.
But I do think, because that is such a new thing, you can save that and still do that. Really, in a way, but I don't know. I didn't necessarily hate that. I thought I was fine with it because of the way I was actually pretty fine with it just because of the way they set up the rules of the film in the way of time travel and things like that. I also don't think they bogged down themselves too much in the time travel and multiverse of it all. Keaton gives his kind of explanation. That's it. We're moving on, and I feel like people kind of understand it very easily.
Yeah,
at this point.
They didn't mire in it too much.
No,
but I think they could have went harder.
And with what? Like
the cameos and the level of multiversal things that were going on in this movie, like Quantum Mania and like not Quantum Mania. Multiverse of Madness kind of goes harder. But like if you think about it, Marvel doesn't really have legacy cameos to go off of.
No,
besides
there's
Spider-Man and the X-Men and Blade. They really don't.
They have some here and there.
They don't have the
Spider-Man,
the legacy. They don't have the legacy to be like, we're gonna pull in James Earl Jones, who played some character in like the 70s show. Like, they don't have that.
Sure.
But with DC, they do, and you know, we see, you know, spoiler alert for the cameos, we get the Nick Cage Superman along with the Spider from that dumb script.
Yeah.
You know, we get
wild
Christopher Reeves, which I'm not exactly sure how we'd feel about that cameo, but okay, they did it.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they got
Supergirl from the movie. I don't know the actress.
I can't remember her name either.
And we get a like Jay Garrick, but we don't. They could have done more with the speedsters.
You were just getting glimpses into it.
Adam West Batman. It's like okay, it's the big characters. Like, if I was like my mom would like go and understand the Christopher Reeves cameo from this movie.
For sure.
I don't know why my mom would see The Flash, but let's pretend.
Let's pretend for a
go in
moment.
that multiverse. But I really just don't think they like. Let me talk.
I'm letting you go.
The Grant Gustin cameo that needed to happen in this movie, sorely missed. I think it would have just been this moment where like the Flash has interacted with him before, whether that's canon or not, whatever, but he has. So if they met up and you saw another guy in a Flash suit, you would instantly understand this is a Flash from the multiverse. It would have been cool for them to have like a moment where, like, I don't know, they catch up and, you know, he's going through something that Grant Gustin's Flash has gone through, you know, to some extent, and maybe could have offered him a little bit of advice. Or what if he interacted with the Nightmare version of himself, the version that comes forward in BVS? What if they met up? Or maybe and the only other live action Flash we have is John Wesley Shipp.
Yeah.
And like, I don't necessarily think you could get, I mean, him coming in as Jay Garrick would be cool, but he's done that role before. Yeah. But like, it would have been cool for him to interact with Jay Garrick or another speedster. It seems like a ball.
Well, they already had that in Barry with Barry. I feel like you risk the thing of going with too many Flashes. Another.
I don't think that. I think that would have been fine. Or maybe if they like, you know, we get the Jay Garrick in his chronosphere kind of running, but like, I don't know. I just wanted more. I didn't. The cameos we had. It's so funny. We're just like, not for me. It's
sure, they didn't get you going.
Not like, oh, like, cool.
I thought the Nick Cage one was really cool. That one blew me away a little for sure.
Yeah, that was like, and again, kind of poor CGI.
Sure.
And, you know, as the multiverses are crashing in on each other, just like they do in the comics when the worlds just kind of like collide.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked seeing that. And I think the way they displayed the multiversal worlds was
cool.
good.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, I'm surprised it's just how little they did. And obviously at the end, we get our George Clooney cameo. And that's another thing. I was just like, I just don't care about this.
I I have a feeling about that one.
We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to fucking put you through this table because I really don't like it. I really don't like where you're going.
So,
and I don't want to jump there just yet.
No, I don't either. But, yeah, no, I agree. Listen, I don't know. I'm fine with the Grant Gustin thing being not in there. I think you run the risk of him. He literally went through the right exact thing.
You know?
Yeah, maybe. Like, that would have been cool, but I don't know. I think you just gave Grant Gustin a send-off on the show.
Well, like, what if
then you bring him back in for the movie. I don't know.
They put like Michael Rosenbaum doing the Flash from like the Justice League. Like he's like probably one of the only other big Flashes that there is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I actually will commend them for holding their load a little bit in the way of I really thought it was going to be cameo overload.
So going back to like the Marvel of it, they do like all their cameos. It's funny kind of thinking about like what Marvel's done in the recent past. It's all kind of like fan service-y. And like in like fan casting stuff, especially with Multiverse of Madness. And with DC, it's very not. It's very like, oh, like we have legacy to pull from, but like they also just kind of forget. It's like, yo, like remember like Doom Patrol and like Swamp Thing?
Well, I feel like it's definitely been much more of an established thing that these characters
we're just kind of ignoring.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot more of an established thing in DC though that there have been so many characters taking on these roles at this point, where they just have so much more to pull from in the way of like actual, you know, properties that they had in the past. So it has a leg up on that, and it can bring in like old movie stars and things like that, and old movie versions that we care about. But I don't know. I like I said, I kind of like how they held it in a little bit. I thought the kind of last confrontation with Dark Flash was somewhat interesting. He really wasn't the villain at the end of the he was the villain. But
he
like,
really wasn't.
But the villain was Barry's mom dying, and he just
the real villain is time.
It is time, and you know, wanting to spend time with your loved ones, and knowing I couldn't like that idea of knowing that someone's innocent and going to jail for a crime that they did not commit.
I think it's interesting how they frame it all around this can of tomatoes thing.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I think it's interesting.
I like it a lot.
But like I think I've been trying to go back to Nora Allen for like 20 minutes. The way the emotional level between, you know, I think the first scene where we meet his mom, and I like how she's like I've assumed like Spanish or Mexican
like Latino
descent.
Yeah,
I really kind of like that. I think it gave her like a charm that like Nora Allen doesn't have in the show.
Sure.
Like it kind of get you like she's more like personable. Like she's
definitely a loving mother. She plays
that attached to it quick.
She plays it very well. You can see why Barry misses her dearly. Yeah, I thought that whole relationship worked very well, and even that first moment of him kind of walking back into the house and seeing her for the first time, and like he's clearly just like he's like, oh, so happy to see you.
Doesn't know what to say.
He's just blown away, and his dad's home because that's the other thing that they harp on. It's like he didn't just lose his mom.
You know,
his dad went to jail.
I didn't end up minding that recast, but at the same
for his dad.
Yeah,
that was just scheduling conflicts. They just couldn't get Billy Crudup back for filming.
Yeah, I liked him in that role.
Yeah, I thought he was for the short time we saw him. Definitely.
Yeah,
we kind of get a brief glimpse of him right in even the Justice League.
He's in both. He's in both cuts.
Yeah. But yeah, they reference Barry going back in time and Sokovia, or not Sokovia,
whatever the fuck it's called.
Places,
yeah, but place. You know, like it's like, you know, they first mention it, and they talk about him and Iris, and it's like, you know, I think that was a very famously done cut scene from the Justice cut of
Justice League.
Thank you, of Justice League. That returned in the Snyder cut. So it's like as soon as they reference that, like I'm like, guys, you know, in that movie. And then when him and when I love calling like I don't call him Bruce, just call him Ben. Like I just call him by his real name. Bruce and Barry are talking, and they reference the fact that Barry the Flash goes back in time, and that does not happen in the Justice cut.
No, that's as hard of a reference as you can get. Because I think the Iris one, you can kind of still skate by a little bit and be like,
right,
well, they could have met off screen.
Yeah,
I was like, that's still reasonable, but like, no, the fucking time travel, that's like as direct as a connection as you can get. But yeah, man, I really did think this, for all the tumultuous times he went through, for all the issues this movie faced, it's nice to see the Flash on the silver screen. I digged Ezra's portrayal, even with all the bullshit behind the scenes. The villain was a little bit lacking for me, but I think the emotional core, like we said, of Barry's relationship with his mom is what truly drives the movie, and is like you said, the enemy is time, and the enemy is losing your loved ones, and Barry just doesn't want to accept it, and he has to learn to accept it by the end of the film.
Sometimes a
problem doesn't have a solution. Yeah. Which again, there's some good themes.
And he says that to himself, and Ezra has some good moments with themselves.
Yeah. It's true.
And like the interaction between both Barrys is just interesting. It's never really been done on that level. Like we see
absolutely. There's probably been a few examples in movies before.
Most of the dialogue in this movie again is between Barry and Barry.
Gooch, have you not seen the seminal The Parent Swap? Thank you very much.
With Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. I didn't know for most of my life that she wasn't twins, that she just plays both.
I mean, like, you're a kid.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. You know what? Thank you, Gooch. I appreciate that. I wasn't a dumb kid. But yeah, man, it was a great idea. And again, this idea of seeing Barry, we got the opportunity to see Barry get his powers for the first time.
You read my mind.
And that's like what's really kind of blew me away.
Was like, he came to see it with us last night, and he was like, "It's funny how we got to see the origin of the Flash without actually like doing it."
Yeah.
And then like,
well, we did it again. Yeah, it's like we already had it, and we already have this fully formed, fledged Flash. But we get to see this young, spry kid who just got his powers. I really actually like the scene where he gets his powers for the first time and he just wreaks havoc throughout the city with them.
Right. It is interesting how like I do like the scenes where they get struck by lightning. And I do wish he would have been like totally barbecued when he gets
a little bit more,
back. Like straight from Flashpoint when they're up on the fucking Wayne Manor roof and he's strapped to a chair.
You can see they kind of a quarter of the way go there. Like he's steaming and he has like the lightning strike marks down his arm and things like that.
And even with Supergirl, which okay, let's talk about her, I guess. It is Kara Zor-El. Yeah. It is not a gender-bent Superman. It is Kara Zor-El Supergirl.
Yeah, you said you were surprised about that because they confirmed it in one of the trailers. Like, she was like, "I'm Kara." Like,
right, but like, and you said that to me, and I'm like, but I don't think they confirmed it. Like, oh, it's not like Superman gender-bent with the name Kara.
I think Andy, the director, did confirm that. At least I was very confident that it was just Kara
I was
Zor-El.
not. Because she looks like the Lara or the Lana Kent version of Superman and Lois's kid from Injustice, and we were all like, okay, like, is that what they're going for? Looks wise, yes. But
one thing I did find weird with her storyline was that she was being held by like Siberian mercenaries, not the government.
So they do kind of pull
this is this is basically Flashpoint, the Flashpoint storyline. Superman crashes to Earth.
It's Red Sun, where she crashes in Russia and gets taken by the Russians, terrorists.
but it is still Flashpoint where they just lock her up
she's all like
in a Red Sun prison. Yeah,
just like in Flashpoint.
And they go to rescue her. They try to find Clark, but she is there, and they end up saving her. And she kind of has a bit of a quick turnaround from going like, "I'm not gonna help you, humans," and then she kind of
I'm gonna help you.
And actually, you know what? I am.
I thought about it on the flight over there.
I saw Zod kind of just kill some people, and I didn't like that.
I didn't like that. Yeah.
And then she came back and flew Barry up.
You know what this means, Trio? It's hope. Fucking hope.
And yeah, again, her suit's great. I do wish she had some like knee-high like red boots on it or something.
I think the suit's great.
It looks great. Don't get me wrong.
This is our third live-action Supergirl?
Yeah.
Am I right?
I think so.
I mean, obviously, Melissa Benoist was the
last
one.
I love her second suit, too, in Supergirl, in the show.
With the pant one?
Yeah, with the pant and, like, the red S with the blue back. Yeah, it looks really good. I really like that one.
Yeah. But, yeah, I was just really surprised. It's like, okay, yeah, hi, I'm Kara Zor-El, and, Kal-El, my cousin? Yeah, like, I was sent here to protect him, the classic Supergirl origin. And Superman just doesn't make it to Earth in this version of the timeline, and I'm like,
and we find out why, which is I think
Zod
an actual I think
catches up to him.
It's a very again
we
Zod really isn't
his corpse, and I ate it like a Chianti with some fava
beans. I did find him.
You think he still did that in this version?
I would hope so, for God's sakes. But so Zod ends up catching up with a young infant Clark and kills him in the process of trying to find the...
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he was like, I didn't try to kill him.
He's like,
I thought he was going to show up as like Doomsday or something.
That would have been like wild.
I was getting ready for it. I was like, oh no.
But, and we go through the whole battle, and Kara just, the turning point really is when he says that he killed Cal, and then she kind of gives a whole what did you do from.
They channeled exactly what I love about Supergirl, the emotion, the rage that Clark does not have, where Supergirl gets mad and she kind of unleashes upon
and
her
I do
enemies.
think that was definitely like a doesn't Superman say what did you do in Man of Steel? Am I misremembering that? Or is there I feel like there's a scene that's very like with Zod.
Yes.
And then that's right before he snaps it. Like I feel like it was definitely mirroring
it's in the skull part.
That's what I thought.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, what did you do?
Yeah. I think you're right. But I just, they locked in the Supergirl character for me, which is her being mad and fucking people up. Because like I just really I think that Supergirl is at her best when she's mad, when she's least like Superman.
I still need to read Woman of Tomorrow because apparently she is very coarse in that. Like, is very much. I'm trying to think of the word, but yeah.
And like Melissa Benoist had those moments in the Supergirl show of like her just being mad and like them really kind of honing in on it and. Like, again, it's such a it's an easy differentiator from Superman because Superman has his like emotions in check for the most part, especially when he's fighting people.
Well, and
not that the Henry Cavill version
doesn't.
He kind of almost doesn't.
Well, he loses it that one, not loses it, but he breaks for that moment to kill Zod because he realized like.
And in BVS, he's clearly conflicted.
Yeah, for sure.
With himself.
But and I mean, I think that makes sense in the way of like Kara arrives to Earth as an adult.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the time to grow up on Earth. And to kind of channel that
she's
same
like
things
normal.
She's showing up like imagine like you crash somewhere and you have superhuman strength and you are like
and Superman's kind of like to take Loki's line like born with glorious purpose kind of thing where Supergirl like doesn't have the onus on her and she doesn't want it.
Sure,
that's the other thing. She's like I don't.
Well,
like
her
living
purpose
in your
was
shadow.
taken away because she was meant to she was sent there to protect Clark or Cal, so that gets taken away, and she arrives.
But she also lives in his shadow as a Kryptonian.
For sure,
and
I would love to read more Supergirl for sure.
Yes,
there's a lot
of weight with that.
There's a whole run where she joins. You obviously probably know this, but the Red Lantern Corps, which is apparently very interesting. And I thought she was very good. We don't get a ton of her, but. I really.
I don't think we're gonna see her back.
You don't think she's gonna be the Supergirl in the new movie?
No, I don't see why they would do that.
I don't know either. I think if this gets a good reception and this does well, I could easily see them keeping her for that.
We know it's not.
What?
We know it's not gonna do well at the box office.
Why is that?
We just know. Come on.
But why? No, it's actually tracking to do like relatively fine. Like, why do we think this isn't gonna do well?
I think.
I mean, it might not. But
WB's. Marketing with this movie has been strange. They've always been one to do these fan screenings, right?
They've been trying to get the hype up. They've been doing a ton of them. Yeah.
But why?
Because they wanted people to know that this wasn't just going to be a Shazam. I think after Shazam and everything, like I think they had a lot
it seems
of
like they're like guys.
I think
that
there is a lot of
like we're doing like advanced screenings like all the time.
Because I think people have a lot of a mixed bag opinion when it comes to DC films.
Do you think it's that or? That the studio was so unconfident with it that they tried everything they could to get people in.
I think it's that. I think it's the earlier. I don't think it's that they were. I think that they were genuinely confident with this movie.
And that's not me saying this movie's bad.
No, yeah.
I said at the beginning it was good. I'm not changing my opinion. I'm just using the WB is so strange and the things they do and they don't have confidence in like any products they put out, like the executives, and this is still old guard.
Sure. To a degree, yeah.
This is still like kind of like.
I mean, the old guard's gone, but this is still something left over.
Right.
No, I don't think that they thought this movie was bad. Okay. I really don't. I don't know. Maybe they did, and they just were trying to get because like if it's bad, people will get that. You don't show early screenings. Then you get word of mouth and people go, oh no, that's bad.
But like
don't
that's where like all the bad CGI talk.
No, I know, but like
came from.
A lot of that also, but a lot of it was like still good reviews for the most part. Aside from that, and even like the people
the
reviews
not
like
reviewing terribly.
It's reviewing quite well actually, especially on even like the fan side. So, listen, I don't know. I don't think that's why they were doing all that. I think they genuinely were just trying to pump this up as much as they can. And yeah, they put a lot of money into it. Probably they want to set this up for as much of a return on investment as they can. And I genuinely think they thought it was a great movie. And I would put it up there as like a, I actually really like Dan Murrell. I follow him on YouTube. He put out a scale that I really like. It was like, I can't remember exactly. Like the top one's like, I love it. Go see it now. Second one's like, I liked it. Third one's like, I didn't love it. the last one after that is like stay away from it. And I would say this isn't quite on the I'm going to steal it for a second, Dan, because it's a good one. I liked it a lot. I don't think I loved it, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
On the Luke Kenny review scale, where are you putting it? Which we kind of have forgotten to do.
It's definitely not. Yeah, we have. It's obviously not a
Bring
film.
It back. No, obviously not a film.
I would say mid-tier movie.
High-tier movie.
I'm teetering towards that too.
Movie.
Yeah, you know what? High-tier movie. I would agree.
Glad we can agree.
And I thought a lot of the set pieces were incredibly well done. I really liked that scene in the final act with Barry and Barry kind of taking down a lot of the Kryptonians. I know you said you weren't a huge fan of the music choice.
Yeah, the music choice.
But I thought that actually it worked pretty well for me, and I love the idea of them working together. And there was just some good moments. I love that moment where they kind of grab hands, flip around, run the other way, and it was in the trailer, but their heels come together at one point too, and they kind of speed off. Some really interesting and cool ideas and uses of his powers, which I appreciate too.
Yeah, like I said, sort of in the beginning, they kind of like do it all with him. Like they really like do most of his powers. I mean, they don't just show phasing once; they show it like
multiple times.
It's like 7 or 8 times. He phases. And the cyclone and
how did you feel about the one scene where they like showed the molecules? I felt like that might have been a little unnecessary.
Yeah,
but that was other than that, I thought it was actually really cool. But I like the idea of Barry being able to kind of explain these things to the audience because he's explaining it to young Barry.
So how did you feel about, I mean, we get a quick scene, of him working at the CSI department of Central City, he's working for Captain Singh. His friends are Patty Spivot and Julian Albert, who's Dr. Alchemy.
Oh, shit, okay.
And, I mean, they get...
Randy Mancuso, by the way, what a weird person to bring in. He was like an old Vine star. Like, that was...
Really?
Yeah, he also does... He's probably still pretty popular, but he does a lot of music stuff. Actually, really cool things on like, Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, and we get to see, like, the multiverse version of them.
Living with Barry in the version.
In that Back to the Future.
I didn't realize that was Patty. That's interesting. I missed that.
It's Patty Spivot. Yeah, cool, they don't like he calls him Albert, but it is Julian Albert and Patty Spivot.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, he's calling by his last name. That makes sense. All right, Albert, whatever. So, we stopped Dark Flash. We saved the universe. And we're back in the DCU. And Barry gets a call from Bruce. Yeah, I guess that's my best guess. Barry gets a call from Bruce Wayne. And he did sound different. And I'm like,
I knew exactly. As soon as I heard the second tone, I'm like,
and then fucking like, Bruce pulls up, and I say it as a joke out loud. I'm like, here comes George, and George Clooney walks out of the car, and he's like, you're not Batman. And
no, he's like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah, does he say the F word?
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
They got the one in.
Yeah, he's like, who the fuck is this? And then he's like, Barry, what's going on? And
congrats or something.
Yes, congrats, and it looks like George Clooney is Batman right now.
Don't say that.
And Andy Muschietti is directing Batman: The Brave and the Bold. And apparently they shot like 3 different versions of this scene. One was did you hear what Lasacci was saying, Mike?
Yes.
Apparently, so in the earlier screenings, apparently Ben Affleck shows up in that scene. And it is Batfleck. I truly think they threw George Clooney in there just as like a placeholder. He was like, let's just like, because Ben Affleck's out. I think he truly is done. And that's fine. That's fair. I get it. He's gone through a lot with these movies and just in his personal life in the past couple years. I think they just threw him in as a placeholder. Very wild thing if they actually make him the Batman and Batman
I really
the Brave and the Bold.
just couldn't see it happening.
I'd be very surprised.
Especially how much George Clooney has shit on that role of his. Like, it's really like a stain for him. And he like does not, when he talks about it, he's like, yeah, I wish I could give you your money
back.
He
apparently refunds people on the streets if you ask him about.
Like I really don't think George Clooney really, I don't think he wants to get mixed up.
Do you think he wants another stab at it, though?
No. I really hope.
With a competent,
No. Too much weight, too much baggage.
Is there, though, at this point? Because there's already another Batman.
Yes, we don't take Bat Nipple seriously. Come on.
No, I know, but in that way, I don't know. I think you could totally get by that. Because George Clooney,
we reviewed that movie. It's bad.
No, I know, but it's hilarious, and because it was made in that time. But if you give George Clooney this role now as an adult, as a even more grown actor with like maybe a director who's taking it more seriously and actually has a direction for him to go in, he's not a bad actor. He could easily do it. I don't think
that's not it.
And I don't think he was the issue. He was what made those movies bad.
No,
I just think he didn't have any direction on what to do, so he was just playing it.
And I think
whatever.
he's just grown out of that.
Sure, what, like those type of roles?
Yeah, I think like George Clooney's a pretty like highbrow actor. I mean, you could say the same thing about Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that necessarily, that they're like highbrow. They're definitely more known names, definitely, especially George Clooney.
Like that would be like Leo or Tom Cruise being in a comic book movie.
But I mean, George Clooney already did it. That's the thing.
But he did it when he like wasn't big.
Yeah, he was, man. That was when he was like his biggest. Like when he was back then. Like that's peak
was
George Clooney.
Really?
It was like 90s to 2000s. Yeah.
I thought like
he's still a somewhat big actor, but like that's like when he was.
How many years off of like General Hospital is he in that?
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Like I don't think like I think Pete Clooney is like the aughts.
Pete Clooney?
Peak
Clooney.
Pete Clooney.
Yeah.
Pete Clooney.
Pete Clooney.
Yeah, his brother?
His brother, Pete Clooney. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. So Mr. Sunday Movies, I remember this now. There was a rumor that this came out as a rumor like months ago that he was going to show up. And like Mr. Sunday Movies, every once in a while, he'll bring on like he'll put out like a rumor that he gets. I actually appreciate it because he holds them close and doesn't do it often. But some guy wrote in, he's like, I work at WB and I have seen The Flash. George Clooney does in fact exist in the movie. And I still didn't believe him.
I still don't believe it. And I watched it.
And it was in front of our eyes. Yeah, so man, that was.
I just don't want it, dude. I don't want it. It's not even like I don't even like it being said because I feel like it's gonna be willed into existence. Like
it's just such a weirdly specific choice.
Like, what if it was like Christian Bale? Like, wouldn't that have been cool? I think that would have been a lot cooler. Like, think about it. Out of everyone we got cameos of, it's funny that Christian Bale has really never, like, nobody's ever tapped him to do anything like that.
Who says they haven't?
True.
So I mean, maybe he's just like, no, I'm good. How much? No, I don't need that. You know, like it's. I wouldn't be surprised if they have.
I know Batman's so well loved
for sure.
Nobody ever like I wouldn't have expected that.
Well, and I think he's talked about not wanting to go back to it unless Christopher Nolan's involved. Like I think I've seen interviews with him like specifically.
I mean, he shouldn't
go
back.
I know that makes again.
I kind of agree with him.
No, I agree. So
I think I just want to
choose him if it's not him though?
Because
for Batman, the Brave and the Bold. But like, how do you then swap it out? Like what?
What do you mean?
How what happens now?
Can we take a few steps back?
Yeah.
I think like going back to the multiverse of it and talking about how I feel like they didn't unload enough. And they also don't really explain like the position they are in the multiverse. Like we don't get this moment of like this is what's happening.
Earth 1.
Right. Or like like they don't establish the DCU essentially. They don't have a moment like that. There's no clear definitions of what's going on.
That's why it's called The Flash.
What?
That's why it's called The Flash. It's about The Flash. I know. I don't need. What I'm saying. I don't need like this whole. I don't need them to give me like a whole like. I don't need
a whole thing. But this movie, it like the DCU is over. So like, and James Gunn said it to himself. This movie will transition us into the new universe.
So what that's. Tells me then this is the new universe and George Clooney's the new Batman.
Stop.
And I don't know, man.
No, he's not. He's fucking not. We're not getting a Brave and the Bold with him in the. Oh my God.
What if he wants another crack at it? What if he wants one more shot to actually do the character that he wanted to do? Imagine if George Clooney came back in this and was like a fucking stellar Batman. I don't really necessarily want it, but like what a story and turnaround that would be.
No,
I know. Hey, listen, Gooch, I cannot blame you and I understand and I'm actually right there with you, but it was almost so like, wow, that I don't really care and I'm like.
So, and that also questions, so what's up with Aquaman now?
So Aquaman exists again,
right? But is it this new version of him? Or
I think,
who's I guess seemingly
I think
the
there
same?
is going to be a new version of Batman, a new version of Superman, who you're going to get introduced to in Superman Legacy. I think if this does well enough, he's staying as the Flash, or they're staying as the Flash. Ezra Miller is. Aquaman we have coming up, so and obviously from the post-credit scene, he's still around. And I know that post-credit scene was nothing, but I actually did like it as just a character moment between the two of them. I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, I don't know. We don't. You're right. I think that was intentional, though. I think they wanted to leave it all for James to really kind of expand upon.
If that's
within
true,
Superman
why would they
Legacy.
shoot multiple versions of it and put the Ben Affleck version in screeners?
Because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I think if you put Ben Affleck in it, they were like, wait, that's too much of a definitive answer on that. So put George Clooney in.
I don't think whatever universe we're in now is going to be the DCU. I really don't.
They got a lot of splaining to do.
Because, and again, what's going to happen in Blue Beetle?
They got a lot of splaining to do, Gooch.
But, like, they could have done it in this movie!
But I think they did, and I think you're not going to like it. It's the unfortunate thing. I think they are set. I think that's what we've just been showed. This is the DC universe as we know it now. Because, like, you don't do that in Superman. You can't, like, reset the universe again. Like, how? Unless he like, goes back in time again and goes around the fucking... the Earth. I don't know, Gooch. Anything else on the Flash? 20.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Let's back up. No, there's no way, because then Superman Legacy Superman kind of has to be Man of Steel's.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Why?
Because that's the timeline.
No, it isn't. It's a whole new timeline. This is a different Batman. It doesn't have to be.
I think it does.
But why?
Because it's even in the universe this movie takes place in, the Man of Steel stuff still happens.
Well, Superman's stuff as Man of Steel still happens, but like it could still happen completely differently within this one. Like you can change the back. Like I don't think it at all.
So does Superman exist or not?
Superman Legacy will answer that. I think they left it completely open for that reason.
Why do you have to do this to me?
I'm sorry, Gooch. I apologize, but I just have to give you the truth sometimes.
It's not the fucking truth. We don't know the truth.
We don't know the truth.
We don't know the truth.
You can't handle the truth, Gooch.
I can't fucking handle the truth. I can't fucking handle
I'm sorry,
this,
man.
actually.
I can't read it any other way. I don't.
Why?
Because, like, how else do you set it up in Superman's movie? Like, if that's the start of the DCU...
They just totally started from scratch. Why is that hard to believe? They did it already. It's called the Batman.
No, because that's a totally separate universe, though. He
did
said this
already.
Is the reset of the DCU. James Gunn said that. This is the reset. This is the universe
we're
in.
Why is it hard to believe that the reset is just going to happen on another Earth where we're at ground zero with everything?
Then what, is Blue Beetle on that Earth? Because Blue Beetle seems to be on this Earth.
Maybe he is on... Maybe he's not part of the DCU.
Gooch, I'm calling it now.
I don't think he's part of the DCU. I don't think Blue Beetle's a part of the DCU.
Superman's in this universe. George Clooney is Batman. I don't know how you just start like a full... Like you just... the way James Gunn is talking about it with Superman...
There's no fucking way. There's no way.
All right. I mean, listen...
George Clooney signed a contract already and is like...
No, I think George Clooney's Batman as a placeholder right now. I don't know if he's going to be the Batman in this, but I mean, he might. He very well could be. That's what they are implying with this.
No fucking way.
Why put him in the movie?
I know. That's what
I'm reading the tea leaves as they are presented to me.
Why they put him in the movie? Because it's funny. And it was funny. It was kind of funny.
It was.
It worked.
Yeah.
But like as a serious thing, I just can't take it seriously. All I can say, Gooch,
is we'll see. I don't know. That's my read on the situation, and that's what I believe.
Oh my god!
If that's not the case, they didn't convey that very well.
But they didn't convey anything very well.
They conveyed they are in a new timeline by having a new Batman walk in.
Right. But again, in the multiverse, which we saw other worlds.
Sure.
We could just be starting fresh.
We could, but that's not what they're implying at all right now. Well, I'm taking what they are implying through this movie. And to me, they are and I could be wrong.
So what do you think Blue Beetle's going to like do? Like
nothing. I think that's just going to be a Blue Beetle movie. Which is fine.
That is on the Earth that is now Flash created.
That we have just seen. Yeah. That's my assumption. Unless stated otherwise. I'm sure. And if we get a reference to the Flash within Blue Beetle, that is a steal.
I just can't accept this. I'm having a tough time.
I know. I can tell. I'm sorry.
It's not me like trying to be argumentative with you.
No, I know. I understand.
I just don't like this.
I know.
God damn it, James Gunn. I need a tweet from you like now.
I'm sure there's going to be some...
I'm sure he's going to talk about it.
This next month's going to be interesting for sure. But Gooch, one more thing.
I had something. We talked about Dark Flash. There was something. I was thinking about it. We talked about Iris. Not really want to go back to her. There was something. Help me out.
I don't know.
I feel like there was one.
We had the story. We had his mom. We had Keaton. Talked about Supergirl. Talked about the plot. I think
Man of Steel stuff.
Man of Steel. Any connections?
Snyder Cut stuff.
Heavily debated the ending.
There's something like right before the end that I was like locked in on. Oh, you know what they do kind of drop? Henry Allen just being like, yeah, we're free. Or like it kind of like that last scene with George Clooney kind of undercuts that whole thing. Mm-hmm. like we just gotta like forget about it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Dad. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did like that Barry could at least. I like the idea that if he couldn't have his mom, but he could at least get his dad free. And I like how he swapped the tomato sauce so his dad could be seen on that. I don't know how his dad wouldn't have been seen on the tape in the first place, but apparently Wayne Enterprises cleared it up for them, which is great. But yeah, I thought that was a good like little send off for at least Barry got a bit of a happy ending. He can't have both his parents, but at least his mom or his dad can get out and have somewhat of a life. I did like how disheveled Henry looked. He looked like he'd been in prison for some years, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like there's still something that I wanted to talk about, and
we can't sit here waiting all day.
It's there. So you know what, Trio? Play us out.
What does that mean to play us out, Gooch?
Well, I am segue real quickly. I am doing the Too Many Games panel on Saturday, June 24th at 5:15 p.m. at the Sapphire stage. They actually released the map of the layout. So if you go in the entrance and go like straight, there's 3 stages right next to each other, and I'm the middle one.
Bing bang boom. Go check out our boy. It'll be a good time.
Yeah. So if you're gonna be at Too Many Games, let me know because I'll be there all weekend. You know, doing shit, spending money.
Please go see Gooch's beautiful face.
Spending money.
Sounds like a great time. I will be soaking up the sun down the shore, but sad I can't be there.
Yeah, and the panel we're doing is going to be recorded. We're going to put it up as a podcast in July, and we think that's going to be our monthly for that month. I think we're going to, unless something like comes up that we want to do, I think that's going to be the situation from
I concur.
now. But
yes,
Trio,
I will play us out.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching us live. If you've been with us on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We are also on Facebook as well as Discord. We got pages there linked down below. You can email us all your comments, questions, or concerns, delconerds@gmail.com. We would be happy to get back to you. You can find all this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. You can even like, comment, share, subscribe. That would be really nice, guys. It really helps us out. Tell a friend about the podcast, spread the word. It really gets things running. If you know. Okay. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.
Right.